Hello, my name is Melissa Giblin, Director of North Carolina Center for the Book at North Carolina Humanities. The North Carolina Center for the Book is a collection of North Carolina Humanities literature and reading programs. Using a variety of formats and initiatives, North Carolina Center for the Book literary programs celebrate and promote the vital importance of books, reading, libraries, and North Carolina's literary heritage. We are excited to continue our partnership with Erik Jones and the Erik Jones Foundation to encourage reading. During a hashtag Read with Erik event on his Facebook page in December, Erik featured The Nights Before Christmas by Joan, Holub, and illustrated by Scott Magoon. You can learn more about Erik and his foundation by visiting erikjonesracing.com/foundation. With the 12th book in this series being The Nights Before Christmas, North Carolina Humanities is excited to have author Joan Holub with us today for an exclusive interview. Joan Holub is the New York Times bestselling author of over 200 books for children of all ages, including board books, picture books, and chapter books. Joan formerly worked as an illustrator, graphic designer, and associate art director at Scholastic. In her spare time, Joan enjoys line dancing. Being an author is her dream job. You can visit her at www.joanholub.com. Joan, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's really nice to be part of the celebration of North Carolina authors. We appreciate it.
And we appreciate you being here. So let's get started with our interview. Okay. What is your favorite childhood book?
My favorite childhood book is Eloise. Do you know that book?
Yes.
Yes. And this is Eloise, and I love her because she's a bold, mischievous, funny, curious, and best of all, in my opinion, she's full of drama. She lives in a fancy hotel. How cool is that? Her mom is away a lot, so she's in the care of a nanny, but in her spare time, she makes friends with all the people who run the hotel, and she just has a great time. And so that's my favorite book. And I love the art in it as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important that you connect with the character, but also that you enjoy all of the pictures and illustrations. That really helps kind of bring the story to life.
Yeah, and I like that a girl is a star of the book too. That's cool.
Yes, that is cool. So what inspired the idea for your book, The Nights with a K, Before Christmas?
Well, you can probably guess it was inspired by Clement Moore's famous rhyming poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." I often hang my stories or books on an existing framework like that. So I'm not just starting from scratch. It's just something about the way that I tend to work. And so like on fairy tales, for instance, I wrote this book, Little Red Riding. It was hung on the fairy tale Little Red Riding Hood, but it teaches something. It's about a pencil that goes through a school. And so you kind of learn how a book is written. But I didn't just come up with that framework. It just made it easier to have, like, for instance, the big bad wolf in Little Red Riding Hood is in this book. It's a wolf 2000 pencil sharpener is the big bad guy that pretends to be Granny. So that's just kind of a way it jumpstarts my stories. I'm not sitting there with a blank page going, what am I going to write? So in The Nights Before Christmas, I hung on Clement Moore's poem, and in his poem, a family kind of goes to bed. Santa visits, and brings presents, which makes everyone happy. It starts with, "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." And then just to kind of give you, I'll let Erik read the entire book, but just to give you a little bit of the flavor, it's like, "'Twas December 24th, and 3 knights ding-a-ling were guarding the castle for their illustrious king. Brave knight with his lance kept watch on the stair in fear that invaders might soon be there." So instead of being all excited about Santa coming, these knights are like trying to stop him from getting in. So that's kind of what that's about. And another instance of where I kind of hang my stories on a framework is this is a middle grade series that I write with my friend Suzanne Williams. It's called Goddess Girls. And we basically take a Greek myth in each book, and we just retell the story with girls and boys like Athena and Persephone and Aphrodite. They go to school at Mount Olympus Academy, and yet on top of all their classwork and their friendship drama and stuff, they have to, save the day with various myths. And I've actually learned a lot about mythology from reading or writing these books with Suzanne. And that series has done really well. There's about 30 titles in it. And so we did kind of a spin-off that's more of a little bit younger Heroes in Training series that was more adventure, where the kids just kind of roam around, but they are Zeus and various Greek mythology characters. And I love Greek mythology because of sixth grade. I don't even know if I'd be an author if it weren't for the teacher that I had back then that just sort of opened the world of mythology to me. And those books became based on them later. Who knew that would happen? But
Yeah,
so,
I love that you take inspiration from classics and fairy tales and school subjects like mythology, and it's just reimagined and reworked.
That's a good word, reimagining it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. If you met the characters from your book, the knights, what would you say to them?
I would probably say, yay, guys, way to do your job. Because these three knights, Brave Knight, Silent Knight, and Polite Knight, they've never heard of Santa Claus. He comes to their castle to deliver gifts, and they're like, who is this guy? They figure he's a red and white knight coming to storm their castle, and that is not going to happen on their watch. Still, Santa has a list of good guys, and he knows these knights have done good deeds, so he's determined to deliver the presents. He catapults gifts in, and the knights toss them right back. The three knights are going to protect that castle no matter what. In the end, Santa departs on his rounds, and the three knights bring the Christmas tree Santa was using as a catapult to fling those gifts in. They bring that tree into the castle and decorate it and have a nice holiday celebration and celebrating the saving of the castle. And my book ends, then they heard Santa call as he flew out of sight. Merry Christmas to all, and to all nighty night, spelled, like you said, Knight. So that was fun. And Scott's illustrations really, sometimes I think that the illustrator is probably 3/4 of the book, because in the way that they tell the story. I write it, and then they just come up with all this extra little stuff that wasn't part of the story that enriches it.
Absolutely. I loved the scenes where Santa is launching, his sugar plums and the candy canes and
That's my favorite part too.
Yes, and the knights very realistically are thinking, gosh, this is something this is our job. We must defend the castle against all of these implements flying in, and it's really just, sugar plums and candy canes and lovely things.
And I wanted to be an illustrator. I didn't envision myself as an author. And I wrote stories and kind of just as a vehicle to like try to get editors interested in my illustration. And my feedback became over and over, well, we like your stories and we want to publish them, but we don't like your art. They said it nicer than that. But so I was like, okay, I just really wanted to be in children's books. And so I just kind of I segued into writing, and now that's all I do. And I love it. I mean, who knew? Everyone in high school and elementary school thought, oh, Joan's an artist. She's going to be an artist. But it turned out I was a writer. So.
Well, that worked out well for you and all of the readers, because they have so many books to choose from that you have brought to life and brought into creation. So that's wonderful.
My pleasure.
If you could tell young readers anything or give them a piece of advice, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that the more you read, the smarter you'll get. And if you want to write your own stories, reading other stories kind of helps you understand the flow and how to write a book. You'll get cool ideas from reading. You'll learn new words. And if you have a younger brother or sister, or even older sister or brother, read to them and let them read to you. Read to your parents, and your whole family will just get smarter and smarter.
Yes, reading definitely opens up a lot of doors. You can even read to a pet. They might
Yeah.
be very attentive and a good audience member.
Yeah, I think there's a set of books that called something like Read to Your Dog and Read to Your Cat, and they're kind of funny. I've forgotten who wrote them, but yeah, true.
We love to highlight libraries across the state. So, can you tell us what your favorite library memory is, or highlight a public library in your community that you love to visit?
But probably my favorite library memory is just my mom took us to the library a lot. We did not have very many books in the house, but we went to the library enough. So it just became a thing that you did. And so I took that into my later life of reading and going to the library. But probably my favorite library is my closest library, the Leesville Community Library. It's got beautiful architecture. Have you ever seen it?
I
It's
have not.
it's just really nicely, the architecture is really good. It's not too noisy. They put books face out kind of on top of the bookshelf. So I'm, instead of just spines, I'm drawn more in to look at the books that they have. And so yeah, it's a cool library.
It does sound cool indeed. So if you're in the Leesville area and you want to check out the library for the cool architecture and how they're showcasing their books and maybe some of the fun programs that they offer, definitely get out there or just to a library in your community. There are many great libraries across the state. So thank you for
True.
sharing your library memories, fond memories of going and visiting, as well as giving a shout out to the Leesville Public Library. So are you working on anything at the present that you would like to share with your readers?
Yeah, I'm always working on 2 or 3 books, and that works well for me because I've talked to some other authors where that doesn't work well because they need to just stay in the groove of that book. But what happens to me is I'm writing something and I just get frustrated because you reach this little, crunch where it just isn't going anywhere and you can't figure out what to do. And I turn to another book that I'm working on, and I work on that for a while. And then when I come back to the one I was having trouble with, something about that little roadblock has been broken somewhat, and it starts to flow better. Or if it doesn't all that well, I can just go back to a third book. So I always have several things kind of going at the same time. And in terms of, I have a book coming out called This Little Engineer, a Think and Do Primer. It showcases, it's a board book for for kids, like toddler to kindergarten age, a Think and Do Primer, and it highlights 10 engineers in really simple language, like Ellen Ochoa, the first Latina astronaut to visit outer space. She carried supplies to the International Space Station. So she just gets kind of a little rhyme and then another sentence over here, just the basics of what she did, just to give the kids the idea that you too can do this in a simple kind of way. And also Marion Croak, who developed the tech that turns your and my spoken words into a digital signal that allows us to speak back and forth on the internet. So yay her, or we wouldn't be doing this today. And this book is, let's see, I just got this from my publisher. This is all I have, but it's Lori Keller. I don't know if you're familiar with her work. She's amazing. And this is just a book that is going to be out sometime in like about 6 months from now. This is the kind of book I really like to write, where it's a blend of fiction, maybe you could call it faction, a blend of fiction and nonfiction. So it's funny and it's mostly about the story, but then I weave in nonfiction facts. So you learn stuff about, I think the tagline is the scoop about how we sniff, sneak, snack, and snooze. So you learn a lot about a character. I like to teach a little something without just full on nonfiction. So it's kind of a blend. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
It sounds like you're keeping busy, and I appreciate you sharing your process. I think that is a really great lesson in perseverance. We've heard that from a lot of authors, that they'll have an idea, they'll sit down to write a book, and sometimes you just get stuck. But if you set it aside, even if you come back to it years later,
True.
you can finish it. And
Yeah.
I love how you highlighted the different engineers to showcase, curiosity and, just kind of keep working till you reach your goal, and who knows what you can
Right.
achieve. So those are all
Well
great.
said.
Great lessons for our readers. And if readers want to learn more about you and your work, I know I mentioned your website earlier, where can they go to learn more about you?
That's probably about the best place. I'm on the usual suspects, Facebook, Twitter, yeah, and everything, but mostly just probably my website, joanholub.com.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to Erik's reading of The Nights Before Christmas. That's going to be fun for me and hopefully for everyone else.
Yes, it is a fun book, and we greatly appreciate that you took the time to sit down and talk with us today to give us kind of the scoop behind the scenes about The Nights Before Christmas, as well as tell us a little bit more about you and your work. So if you enjoyed watching this program, please head to North Carolina Humanities at www.nchumanities.org to learn more about our North Carolina Center for the Book reading programs. So thank you again, Joan. It was a pleasure, and I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye.